WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST. .net, I've been waiting to talk to this guy because he did the pre-gaming on Thursday. I'm not going to hold him responsible for the loss in Cincinnati, although Luke and I did join him on a beautiful day from the Queen City. It was beautiful right on up until Flacco threw the first interception. He is Dennis Koulatsos, Coons Forward of Security Boulevard. They, of course, sponsor our WNST tech service, which is the best thing we do around here, getting you the news as it happens. And, of course, hosting the SSV on WNST from 3 until 5 on Thursday. We'll have a couple of days to settle in after Thursday this weekend, but you were the pre-game show last week. Not the effort we were looking for in Cincinnati, but not completely shocking either on short rest on the road in the division.
No, everything that we said the Ravens should do, they didn't. They got behind early. They turned the ball over early. They didn't run the ball. And I don't know, I was going to ask you because I've heard you and Luke talk a lot about the Bengals. I mean, the Ravens' misfortune against the Bengals. Is it Marvin? Is it the uniforms? I mean, it's just a bad matchup for these guys, but they're a different team when they go up to Cincinnati. Last year was the exception, but we couldn't have asked for a worse start. When Flacco was thrown into double coverage, I think all of us exploded. Like, what was Joe looking at? I'd like to ask him that question.
Well, whatever, he did explain it in the aftermath. He said the safety bit out further wide than he thought he was going to go. And but all that being said, in real time, it's hideous, it's ugly, it puts you behind. But my concerns now are the injuries. I mean, we didn't have these problems, or the injuries plus the suspensions, and where they are out on the field playing without Hayden Hurst. They're playing without both of their number one draft picks, right? So they used 2 draft picks that aren't on the field at this point in the first round. Jimmy Smith's not on the field. C.J. Mosley's not on. There's only so many number ones and only so many $10 million football players you're going to take out of the lineup before you feel it. Defensively, I think it went from a strength and depth to them being able to exploit linebackers and being able to exploit matchups because the Bengals have a hell of a set of talent players. I don't know that the Bengals or the Broncos have that coming in this week. I do know that Case Keenum has been kryptonite to this franchise.
Well, let's hope not. Let's hope that the team can bounce back. Look, they've had a lot of rest, and then again, they had a lot of rest prior to Thursday night's game as well. I think that might be overrated and things of that nature. But the nice thing is that we are playing the Broncos. They're coming off of two straight wins at home. This is their first road game, and couple that with the Steelers' misfortunes and also the Browns. The Ravens are still in good position. There's a lot of football to be played, and hopefully they can get some of these guys back like Hurst and Jimmy Smith and C.J. Mosley at some point and be able to put it together. But they got to get past the Broncos. You cannot go up to Pittsburgh, at 1-2, right? They got to get up there at 2-1, and the Steelers look vulnerable all of a sudden. Mahomes just completely obliterated them, threw for 6 touchdowns. The kid looks like he's a real deal. The second coming of Brett Favre and Joe Montana combined. But as far as the Ravens are concerned, they have to certainly figure out their offensive line. That's got to be concerning. Their ability to run the ball, open up holes for the backs, and also protect Joe Flacco. And the other thing I wanted to mention was just Flacco's release. I mean, these days in the NFL, Nestor, you got to either be able to get rid of the ball fast if you're an immobile quarterback, relatively mobile, or a Deshaun Watson type. So we saw Andy Dalton getting rid of the ball very quickly. Our defense got 0 sacks against them. And Joe, he was, by the time he winds up, man, it's too late. He's just begging for a strip sack.
Well, for me with the Steelers and where they are, it sort of opens some oxygen up in the division because the Steelers are not going to start the season 6-1, and I don't think the Bengals are either. And most years, if you go back over all the years we've been in the league, one of the reasons we never win the division is because one of these other 2 teams were always playing catch-up, right? And this is part of the problem of playing catch-up when you lose a Thursday night road game in Cincinnati, when you have a Monday night or Sunday night game next week in Pittsburgh, then go to Cleveland, that this thing's going to shake out before my 50th birthday when we head to Nashville, and they look like a diminished team right now, and certainly with the quarterback situation, I expected that to be a little bit more of a difficult road assignment in the middle of October, but 4 out of 5 weeks this team's going to be on the road now, and the Steelers have a really tough game on Monday night as well with the way Tampa Bay is playing. that this thing is going to look 3-2, 2-3, 4-3, 3-4 for a lot of these teams that nobody's running away. For that, I feel fortunate because it's going to feel much more like a dogfight into November and December because nobody's going to finish 13-3 in this division.
Yeah, it certainly will. And the Steelers, as you mentioned, they've got to go to Tampa Bay and play a very hot Tampa Bay team. Ryan Fitzpatrick, I don't know if you saw his picture, his press conference. He looks like Conor McGregor. He's got that vibe going on with the beard and the hair and everything else. And, teams that start off the season 0-2 rarely ever make the playoffs, Nestor. And I don't know what the difference is between 0-2 and 0-1-1. 0-1-1 to me, that the Steelers are right now, sounds very much like 0-2.
Yeah, I thought that week one, and I don't know that I feel that way about the Green Bay, Minnesota thing because I don't think Chicago or Detroit are going to come catch them at the end. But for Pittsburgh, Cincinnati and Baltimore are going to come catch them. And that 9-7, 10-6, 10-5-1, whatever that thing is going to be, 11-4-1, or that's going to come back to bite them. And the Steelers defensively don't look like much. The problem with Le'Veon Bell, and it doesn't look like he's going to appear anytime soon, he's losing $885,000 every Friday as this thing goes forward, and they have a tough game on Monday night. That I feel better about the Ravens having these injuries and feeling themselves out, and Flacco finding himself, and them not having a running game the first two games, that there's a little bit more oxygen and a little bit more time, that there isn't that urgency. But all that said, I need to see the Ravens run the football a little better.
Well, they got away from it in the third quarter. I think Marty and John gave up on the run way too early. They got to commit to the run. Alex Collins had 9 carries, and in contrast to Joe Mixon, who had 21 carries. I'd like to see Alex Collins get that 18 to 25 pitch count to be able to wear down the defense, and I think they panicked a little bit too early. Even with John's 4th and 2 call, I thought that was premature. And, of course, they throw the ball short of the sticks, bounce pass, and what was really maddening about John's coaching was the final drive. That one gave you heartburn. I thought for sure they would take a field goal at some point within the last minute, and maybe with 30, 35 seconds left. Give themselves a chance with an offside. You throw it deep, maybe you get a pass interference. But I don't know why. I know he said he ran out of time, but they've got to do a much better job. It felt like they were giving up, although I don't think that was their intention. But you've got to be able to manage that clock in that situation a lot better than what they did.
Dennis Koulatsos can be found most of the time out of Coons Florida Security Boulevard. I stopped to see him. He wasn't there the one day. They tell me he's got a cot out there, but you can find him out there at Security Boulevard anytime. You can find him here on Thursdays from 3 until 5. It is the SSV on WNST. Also heard on Sunday mornings as the Ravens prepare for the Denver Broncos this week. How'd you like the weekend on the couch, Dan? I'm a red zone guy. Pittsburgh loses in the early game. New England gets clobbered in the late game. I watch even Sunday Night Football as well. But I love a weekend on the couch where I can watch all of these teams and all of these games. And you can't help but be impressed by Mahomes and knowing we've got to go out there in December, and that looks a little different right now. To your point, these 0-2 teams, whether it's the Raiders, the Giants, the Lions, they feel left for dead. But the great stories brewing through the league through 2 hours of football, stories everywhere for everyone, right?
Absolutely, Nestor. I was exhausted. We had a very busy weekend here at Coons Baltimore Fort. So my beautiful wife, she let me just watch whatever I wanted to watch. And I watched the early game. Loved KC's performance over Pittsburgh. Good to see Tom Brady lose to Jacksonville. And I fell asleep during the Dallas New York Football Giants matchup. I think I'd seen enough. But
so did most of the Giants fans, by the way, from what I understand. Yes.
Yeah. I still have no idea what happened. You said the Giants are 0-2 now, so I take it they lost. But it was just a lot of fun just to watch other teams. And look, if Pittsburgh loses to Tampa Bay, if they're 0-2-1, I mean, that's 0-3 to me. They're going to have a very, very difficult time coming back. But we're able to see some emerging stars in the league, Saquon Barkley and Patrick Mahomes. Definitely, he opened up some eyes. And Ryan Fitzpatrick now he keeps winning down in Tampa Bay. Can't see Jameis Winston being inserted back to the line into the lineup after his suspension is over and done with.
And the Dolphins have won 2 games, right? And they're in sole possession of first place. I mean, the Patriots, look, I'm not ready to shovel dirt on them, but they don't have weapons right now. And Brady is a little older, and they look like they got a little hot down in Jacksonville. And Jacksonville looks like the real deal. And I guess a year after they destroyed us over in Wembley, and this is the 1-year anniversary of that coming up right now, that maybe we shouldn't be shocked. But I never buy what Blake Bortles is selling, but I did love the gunslinger that they're up 2 touchdowns and still throwing the ball around in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, Bortles looked real good, and his receivers, I mean, that one kid, Cole, with a one-handed highlight grab when he grabbed the football by the nose, it was, look, they looked the part. They stayed aggressive. They ran enough, but they were still putting the ball up there, and they were making plays. They looked real good. And also with the absence of Leonard Fournette, their big bruising running back, so it was very impressive against the Patriots that they were able to hold serve at home in the manner in which they did.
Dennis Koulatsos can be found out on Twitter at SSV on WNST. His show's heard from 3 until 5 here each and every Thursday as we get you ready for Ravens football on Sunday morning. Broncos, anything you want to say on the Case Keenum machine here? And I tweeted that I hope that Demaryius Thomas keeps dropping balls the way he did all day on Sunday, but they did enough in the end to win. We'll be talking to a lot of folks out in Denver this week here, and you can find that at AM 1570 as well as out on our Facebook Live. But we're seeing a team here with a lot of confidence coming in, and I know you go far back enough that anytime John Elway comes to town, you want to see him lose.
Yeah, no question. Well, I hate the Broncos for a number of reasons, and but Case Keenum, his success against the Ravens has been primarily because he hasn't turned the ball over much. Now he's going to have to make some plays against this defense this Sunday. I'll be out there loud and proud cheering on our defense and our offense as well. Big matchup for the Ravens. This falls into it feels like a must-win game. I guess like most regular season matchups.
Well, you're about to spend a month on the road, literally, right?
Yeah.
I mean, after this one, 3 in a row on the road, and I know it's Cleveland, and maybe they can win 2 out of 3 on the road. They're going to have to if they're going to be a good team, but they got to win this game.
Yeah, Cleveland's not going to be look. That's not a layup. They've played well. I mean, in the first 2 games of the season, well enough, and with some home cooking. I mean, that's not an easy out. That's going to be a dogfight up in Cleveland, but first thing first, they got to address the offensive line has to be prepared for Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. I mean, the Broncos defense is very good, and they also like to run the ball. So defense and the running game, they travel well. So I expect to be a very, very tight match, probably a 3-point game in the other direction, and hopefully the Ravens will do enough to come out victorious. Hopefully they'll commit to the run and make it a little bit easier for Joe to drop back and maybe hit him with some play action. But their linebackers aren't good in coverage, and so hopefully the Ravens can once again, as they did against the Bengals, exploit that matchup with our tight ends against their linebackers and do enough with the running game and defense to come out with a win.
And we're going to learn who Philip Lindsay is. Certainly the Oakland Raiders figured that out over the weekend as well. You know, I joke a lot around here about us having a great kicker, right? And then you have a day like Sunday when these guys are missing the extra points, which are no longer chip shots, right? I mean, they're all legitimate kicks, on their own. But then I see teams cross the 50-yard line, other teams, and knowing that they got to get down to the 25 or 28-yard line to be thinking about an automatic field goal. And somehow around here, when you get inside the 40, you start thinking, well, got a pretty good shot of him making it. That's not the case in the rest of the National Football League.
Yeah, I think, look, anytime the Ravens cross midfield, I start thinking about Justin Tucker and the big leg that he has. At the 50, you're talking about a 67-yard field goal. And right now, the Minnesota Vikings would be 2-0 if they just had a kicker that can execute a 35, 37-yard field goal. They have to be kicking themselves real hard. They should have beat the Green Bay Packers, and they weren't able to because of their place kicker.
Well, the Browns, you could say the same thing, and that was going on throughout the league, and costing teams ties and costing teams going to overtime and throwing the clock off and all that stuff as well. Any other trends you got over the first 2 weeks? Anything that stood out that surprised you, or I guess on a trend level? Have us talking about it, but the kicker thing I think has been the biggest story the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, the kicker thing is a huge story. Dan Bailey, former Dallas Cowboy, great place kicker, he was released. He's still out there. I expect that his phone was ringing a lot yesterday in the evening from several teams. So I think any halfway decent kicker right now, perhaps that retired the last year or two, might get a phone call. Our young kicker, unfortunately got the situation and got hospitalized. But and I don't know what his status is, but he would be great trade bait. I don't know what his availability is at this point. But look, the kicking game is still big, and as you mentioned, the extra point now it's become a factor. I even saw the Steelers kicker. He pushed an extra point to the right, and I'm thinking if I'm Mike Tomlin, I might consider going for 2 points again, like he did a couple of years ago.
By the way, Dan, I'm sure that, in the course of all the years you've sold cars, you're familiar with someone who's walked out of the showroom and quit in the middle of the day, or a mechanic that's that this has happened in your experience somewhere along your life. But I don't ever remember a guy walking out of an NFL game at halftime and telling his teammates that he quits. My wife heard that on the Monday morning news. She's like, what a D move that is. And I'm like, yeah, his teammates kind of thought so too. I've never heard of that one, Dan.
Yeah, Vontae Davis, I don't think he goes active in the game against the Ravens, but yeah, for him to walk out like that, it's and somebody said, does he get paid for half a game? I don't know what the ruling on that would be, but Bush League, and look, just that's a quitter. He's going to have a hard time for the rest of his life overcoming that label, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, go back out there, stand there, and announce your retirement Monday morning. I mean, you're great, especially when you've been in the league 10 years. You think these guys are grown-ups. Look, Terrell Owens didn't come and accept his Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? So I can't speak for all of these players or any of these players, but it's certainly to your point, there aren't going to be a whole lot of headlines coming out in the future. A guy quits on a team in the middle of an NFL game. I've never heard of that.
Look, fake an injury. Tell them that, you got a pain in your back, but you can't, you're stiff, whatever. You just can't get back in there. Just have some class with that as a human being. He sounded like he just totally imploded, and you know what? That's too bad. The Bills right now, that's a dumpster fire going on, and Sean McDermott, he's got his hands full up there in Buffalo.
All right, well, you got your hands full out there at Coons Ford Security Boulevard. I know the leaves aren't changing just yet. We were worried about the hurricane over the weekend. The weather's good, and I know you got some 18 models over there that Ford has you dancing over there because all those 19s are coming in, right?
Yeah, we delivered over 52 vehicles this weekend. Wow. It was very, very busy. We're the busiest store in the region. I just saw the numbers, and look, that great WNST advertising is always helpful. Or do a lot of repeat and referral business, and that's a daily happenstance here at Queens Baltimore Ford, and Ford Motor Company right now. They got great brands. We're about to go to Vegas to see the new Ranger, the new Bronco. They have a lot of some things coming down the pike that's going to be really exciting for the brand, and I couldn't be more happy working with the Ford Motor Company. When
are we going to Vegas, Dan? You and me? Vegas? No.
Well, I'll give you the dates. Maybe we can meet up there. But
I offer to take you to Indianapolis every year, and I mean, a man of your stature to turn that down in February, a deal like that, offer like that, to sit in a dome and watch guys that do underwear Olympics. You're going to offer to take me to Vegas. Is it for a car show, or can I just go run wild?
It's for a car show, but you could go and run wild. I won't tell anyone. But I have to make some appearances and see the new products that Ford has coming out soon. And the company's well positioned. The SUVs are selling real well. The trucks right now, it's the time of the year a lot of our companies that we do business with, they buy them in bulk. All great stuff.
I see all the advertising out there. We appreciate your support as well. Dennis Koulatsos is a Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And, of course, you can follow along on Thursday from 3 until 5. It is the SSV on WNST, also sponsoring our WNST text service, which is the best thing we do around here. It's breaking news. No one's better at it. If you're among the almost 10,000 on the WNST text service, you know how good it is. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. You can find me anytime, anywhere, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and, of course, on our YouTube WNSTV channel, as well as Facebook Live. Always a very available individual, Nasty at WNST.net. Full coverage from Owings Mills with Luke moving on all week. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.